Rappin with ReefBum is sponsored by Bulk Reef Supply and Ecotech Marine. Hey, what's happening, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Rappin with ReefBum. I'm your host, Keith Berkelhamer. So today on the live stream, I welcome back Dong Zou to the show. What's going on there, Dong?
Very good. Thank you. Good to be back.
Good to have you back. When was the last time we had you on? About 5-6 months ago, I think?
Exactly 6 months.
It's exactly 6 months.
Exactly 6 months.
And the tank behind you looks a little different. That's your play tank.
Different. Yeah, it's my play tank. So that I like to always rearranging them. Well, if a customer want a big piece of colony, yeah, when the price is right, it goes.
So somebody was very opportunistic there, and got some big colonies and got very lucky. So just a little bit about Dong for those of you that don't know Dong. He has a PhD in chemistry and worked for several pharmaceutical companies in various therapeutic areas, including anti-inflammatory, cancer, pain management, anti-infectious diseases. He developed his first interest in marine invertebrates when he was working as a postdoc at the University of Virginia. He has been in the aquarium hobby since he was in college and got into the saltwater hobby in 2004 after setting up his first marine fish tank for a Nemo and after he discovered the Boston Reefers Society. Yes, go BRS. About 10 years ago, he co-founded his first company on drug discovery. Soon after that, he was able to combine his passion for coral and his experience in the pharmaceutical industry and co-founded a new company, eCove BioMarine. This company focused on aquaculture, coral for drug discovery, and bone grafting. His current company, AcroGarden Inc, was then founded to hold the intellectual properties and to study coral farming, which Dong does very well. AcroGarden is now his primary focus. The company produces aquaculture coral, mainly SPS for hobbyists and local fish stores. So before we start chatting with Dong, I want to thank the sponsors of this show, both Bulk Reef Supply and Ecotech Marine. Appreciate them supporting this live stream. And I also appreciate all you folks out there tuning in. I want to thank Rob upstate New York for that preliminary super chat. He's bowling. Rob has been a regular viewer of this live stream, and he was a little bummed out that it was switched to Tuesday nights because that's his bowling night. So, Rob, bowl another 300 there if you're listening at the alley tonight. But thanks, man. Appreciate that support. So, as usual, everybody out there, ask some questions. Let's make this interactive. Throw some questions and comments in the chat. Do our best to get to all that stuff. We have an outline, right, Dong, that we have prepared, and I'm sure we're not going to get to everything in terms of what's on that outline. But yeah, let's start with something that I haven't really talked with anybody about on this live stream, which you brought up to me a couple of days ago, which is vitamin C dosing. What's that all about?
Vitamin C dosing actually was very big, just like hot water, like 10 years ago. And right now, that it seems like it disappeared from the landscape. I don't know why. But vitamin C dosing is actually scientifically validated because there's plenty of research showing that coral can actively take in vitamin C. Vitamin C actually present in seawater in very, very small amount. But even though they're in very small amount, but the C is infinite. So you have an infinite supply of vitamin C. So vitamin C actually does some very important things. Just like when human taking vitamin C, so you see the grapefruit.
You got the props again.
Oh yeah, the vitamin C. Well, for human, we are talking about the antioxidant, right? So we use it as antioxidant. So one of the major function of vitamin C within coral is actually act as an antioxidant. That's one major thing.
And explain to those folks, Dong, what the purpose is of an antioxidant.
Okay, so when coral doing photosynthesis, the byproduct of photosynthesis is actually oxygen radicals, very reactive, very strong oxidizer, and just like in human, it damage the cell tissue, but that's a byproduct of photosynthesis. So vitamin C act exactly like human, just same as in coral, by quenching those, grab those oxidative, those very active species, harmful oxygen radical, grab them, quench them, eliminate them. So to prevent the damage to the cell, the tissue, and that is the antioxidant property. Of course, there are some more roles that vitamin C play in the whole photosynthesis pathway, all that kind of thing. But one of the major function of it is antioxidant, just like we need to take vitamin C. Okay. Second thing is very important is actually vitamin C is critical to produce the tissue, the coral fresh to the bone, the collagens. So yes, it's one of the primary, very important starting material. We can say it. Very important chemical to facilitate to generate collagen, the super glue to glue your tissue, the coral tissue to the bone. For a matter of fact, that so this is not absolute, not like control study or something like that. So I have been dosing vitamin C for the past 10 years. So the STN and RTN event is greatly minimized, which is consistent with the scientific research. Is basically the super glue to glue the flesh to the bone. Is when the coral become more healthy and they generate the collagen so that the tissue will stay on the bone much better.
Are you saying that basically the coral can fight off coral pathogens better with the excess amount of vitamin C?
I think it's not a direct effect, but then you definitely get a healthier coral. So, for example, that the flesh will stick to the bone much better.
Healthy and stronger. It's not as prone to the pathogens.
Exactly, and also that sometimes that when the coral got damaged is by photosynthesis, the byproduct like those radical oxygen radical. So the antioxidant effect becomes so important, especially when for our aquapora lover. So normally we have strong light. When the PAR level is high, and then your photosynthesis is more the kick on the high gear. That means that you produce more of these oxygen radicals as a byproduct of photosynthesis. Then you need to be quenched, removed, eliminated, so that it won't cause damage to the coral tissue itself. So vitamin C actually is scientifically proven, very important chemical that your coral needs, as well as your fish also need it too. So one example is, well, I'm not sponsored, so okay. So I'm not sponsored, but this is what I use. So since I'm not sponsored by anybody, I can freely speak my mind. That's important. And also make
Well,
my
that's a great
recommendation.
thing about you, Dong. You speak
Yeah.
your mind, so that's why everybody loves you.
And also, if I recommend something, so it's from my experience. It's not got paid by anybody. So my advice will be more valuable, more realistic or truer or that kind of thing. So, okay, not sponsored, but this is the fish food I use. Is the whatever that is, okay? If you look at the label, vitamin C, that's on right there. It is a primary, not a primary, but it's a very important ingredient. You even worthy the list on the label there. So vitamin C is important for coral, important for fish, and also very important for your algae.
So oh, go ahead there, Dong. I didn't mean to interrupt.
Okay, so if you look at marine algae, including plankton algae or seaweed, they are enriched in vitamin C. So what those algae actually do, they do photosynthesis. So the vitamin C in them is basically is the antioxidant for them to help them to do the photosynthesis and also protecting them from the byproduct damage from photosynthesis. So that is why you can find high level of vitamin C in seaweed, plankton, including phytoplankton, zooplankton. For matter of fact, cocoa pod. So I read a paper. It analyzed how rich in vitamin C for cocoa pod is. So eat your orange. Vitamin C is important. So dosing vitamin C is actually a kind of a tricky thing to do because vitamin C is really not that stable in salt water. For matter of fact, that any vitamin C in a captive system, it basically will all destroy or get consumed or get wiped out overnight. So the lifetime in a saltwater reef tank is approximately maybe less than a day, which means
You need to dose.
you have a dose daily. But you actually, I remember there's an interesting story back then, like 12, 13 years ago. There's a guy actually local here. Of course, he's no longer in the hobby anymore. He moved on. So he grows beautiful aquapora. At that time, that I was looking at his tank. How can you do? How do you do that? It's beautiful aqua colony, big red penny colony. Then he told me one thing. He said every day he throws orange juice in his tank. I said, "Are you crazy? Orange juice?" He said, "Yeah, it works." So, so later on, then when I think about this orange juice, it actually makes sense. What's in orange juice? Sugar. Sugar is coral food. Coral can directly take in sugar. For matter of fact, when the symbiosis algae, when they do photosynthesis, what they generate? Mostly sugar. So when you dose the orange juice in your tank, you give them sugar and vitamin C. But of course, do not go to the grocery store and grab a gallon of orange juice and pour in your tank. Don't do that. Not recommended.
Yeah, no, I think we have some questions. I got some questions for you.
Okay.
First, I want to thank though Polo1126 for the super chat. Thank you so much. My comments. My favorite guest. Always look forward to these conversations. Thanks for another great interview, Keith. Yep. And Casey Penny, thank you so much for the super chat. I'm gonna read the question, but we're gonna get back to this because I don't want to interrupt the flow of the vitamin C discussion. Dong, last time you were on, you talked about curing our rock and having lights on at the beginning, and using urchins to clean the algae before putting fish and corals in. What do you feed during this? Do you want to answer that quickly, and then we can get back to the fun?
Actually, I normally don't feed anything to it. So if you have fish, feed your fish. Because that the organic material on your live rock that you want to get rid of, that's what the curing process is to get rid of the excess dead organic material on the live rock by growing algae on them. So the algae, when the algae grow on those live rock, you basically remove the dead organic material from the rock. So, but I do find out one thing that can definitely help you during this stage: phytoplankton. So when you're cycling the tank with your light on, pour a whole gallon of phytoplankton in your tank. Seriously, you don't have to do it like daily dosing. No, just grab the whole gallon. If you have a 100-gallon tank, grab a gallon, pour right in. For a matter of fact, there's a gentleman actually is doing this exactly right now. He said, "Oh yeah, you basically speed up the establishment of the whole food chain, whole ecosystem. Phytoplankton is the bottom of the food chain. So when you add that to your system, you kickstart the whole cycle. But make sure you keep your light on, feed your fish regularly, and dump a gallon of phytoplankton in your tank.
There
and
you
sit
go.
back, relax.
There you go. All right, so let's get back to the vitamin C discussion. So, all right, so you basically say there is research, there's papers been written out there in terms of the benefits of vitamin C for coral growth.
For
coral growth.
Yep.
How do we know what our levels of vitamin C are in our tank? Is there a way to test for that?
Very good question. First, there's no way to test for it. That is, and also how much vitamin C in the natural seawater is actually you get data all over the place. Basically, the answer is so tiny amount. But in the ocean is so huge. That means that if it have a tiny amount of vitamin C in the seawater, it always have that amount of vitamin C present in the water. But not like in a reef tank. A reef tank is a closed system. So when the vitamin C get consumed, boom, it drops to zero. And if the vitamin C is not consumed by any living organism, if it get destroyed, basically that the other like bacteria will destroy it, and also even the alkalinity, the bicarbonate ion, also that basically wipe out your vitamin C. For matter of fact, you can do a very simple experiment. You get some vitamin C pill, dissolve them in water, and add a small amount of baking soda to it. You can immediately see the vitamin C start to degrade, turn into a yellow solution. It's that obvious. So now here is what I suggest to do. Well, of course, toss the orange in the tank, just like this. Easy, simple.
You gotta peel it first.
So if you have a central antlers, those kind of tank, you need this.
That's for a larger tank.
Food. Yeah, for a larger tank. Okay, here. Non-sponsor, bought from Amazon retail. That is vitamin C capsule. It's very important to use a capsule form, because what you can see here are those capsules. What you can do, you can just pull the capsule out and get the powder out. Do not use a pill. A vitamin C pill actually has a lot of other ingredient there, and also that it doesn't dissolve very well. So what you're going to do, what I do here is Costco's distilled water.
So you could take distilled water or RODI
water or anything. So this is a 500 milligram pill. And you can do, well, they are available at all different kind of weight, size of pill. But I found this is very simple.
What size pill is that?
This is 500 milligrams.
500 milligrams, okay.
Yeah, so very simple. You just open up the capsule and pour everything in. And then you swallow the capsule. No, just kidding. Shake it up.
Shake it up.
Yeah, okay. Now here has 500 milligrams of vitamin C in 16 ounces of water.
Okay.
So if you dose 1 ounce of this solution per 100 gallon of your tank volume, you will get approximately 0.1 ppm of vitamin C in the water.
How do you know that, though, if you can't measure it?
No. Because I
the
know how much is
concentration
here.
in the water.
Yeah,
Okay.
concentration.
All right.
Then
Okay.
you end up water at 0.1
I thought you were
ppm.
talking about in the tank itself.
Oh, actually, in the tank, you will achieve a 0.1 ppm vitamin C concentration.
Okay.
At that moment, you pour right in.
Got you. Okay.
So that is a number basically pull out of rabbit hole. Okay, basically, all the meaning is that you don't have too much vitamin C, so you end up with a lot of waste. But you have some vitamin C that coral be able to utilize, and also that that vitamin C, well, overdosing vitamin C can be a problem, because that many years ago, one time I tried to up the dose. What happened is that my water started to have a yellow tint to it. So that is not something. Even though the coral seems okay, but the yellow tint, that's something I don't like. That means if you have too much vitamin C, you definitely
get a yellow tint.
Yellow tint because of degradation. But right at this moment, is clear. So this clear solution can last for less than a day. Seriously. So make up as much as you want. So 500 milligram into this bottle. Of course, that pill is only about what, 1 cent to from Amazon. So after you dose it,
goes right in.
Goes right in, and you drink it.
Yeah, you can't say that about too many things we put in our fish tanks. You can also consume it.
but that here comes the important thing. So my philosophy is I only dose something that I know what it is, and also something that I can drink it.
So you're saying
anything food grade.
You're saying that you have to use it that same day you're mixing it up.
Yeah, same day. So you cannot let it stay in room temperature.
And
I do try to put it in the refrigerator.
To try to make it last.
Yeah, it probably lasts a week, but after 1 week I just toss it, because that during that week in the refrigerator it does not turn yellow. As long as this thing is clear, it's fine to use. So if it turns yellow, and that's a problem. Now here comes another problem. I'm going to permission to speak my mind.
Okay. Permission granted.
Okay. So think about this. There's plenty of products, coral additive, on store shelf, which contain vitamin C in it. How long those shelves actually stay how long those bottles stay on the shelf? So in order to keep those vitamin C still it's not degraded, they have to put other chemical to stabilize it. And now when you dose into your tank, you're dosing a lot of other stuff. So that is why my philosophy is that if you want to dose anything to your tank, it's much better dose something that you know what it is.
Pure.
And it's healthy, food grade. Cheers. Yeah, that's the important thing.
That's a man standing behind his tank there, and his
Otherwise, I just toss the orange in it, but I'm not going to do it right now.
So I'm assuming you don't need to turn the skimmer off. That doesn't matter?
Doesn't matter.
Time of day, does that matter?
Doesn't matter at all.
Doesn't matter. Just whenever you want to.
Whenever
do that.
you want, and so if you forget about it, no big deal. Seriously.
And
because a tank, the most important thing, your basic parameter. This is just icing on the cake.
What about, so Dong, if you're dosing phyto, and I know you're dose phyto, and if you've got a lot of copepods and you're feeding all those pellets, and is there a risk of overdosing the vitamin C if you're also doing the pills?
You mean that dosing the vitamin C as well as phyto?
Yep, and dosing, because all that other stuff you talked about that I just mentioned has the vitamin C in it.
But those vitamin C are not the free floating vitamin C.
Okay.
They are inside the cell. They are naturally protected.
Okay.
Yeah, and also when actually those are really good vitamin C when you're dosing phyto. So that talk about phyto, and there's really no way to overdose phyto. Just give me a second.
Yeah, you're gonna grab some phyto?
Oh yeah.
What kind of phyto is it, Dong? Do you know the strain?
That's nano.
Nano phyto?
Yeah, my homemade strain. So when people talk about dosing phyto, this is what I do. here's a gallon, right?
You're being very hands-on tonight.
Yeah,
You're just
because
throwing stuff in that tank.
exactly, you're perfectly fine.
Now that's a very dark strain of Phyto. Why is that? Because I've gotten the Phyto from you, and it was not as dark as that. Why is that so dark?
I think it's just the light.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's not that dark under the light, but under this video light, for some reason, it looks very dark because this ring light in front of it. So that's the same intensity as I sent you.
Why do you think this was such a thing, and then 10 years ago and recent years, a lot of people are not doing it? I mean, why have we not heard a lot of people talking about vitamin C dosing the last few years?
Because YouTubers are not talking about it, and everybody is going to cut water, so that grab all the attention. So that is why.
But you could do both, right?
Yeah, you can do both. Actually, every day I consume 30 gallons of saturated cold water solution.
Yeah, I can't believe that.
Oh, that's 30 gallons. Yeah, that's.
Are you gonna dump some? Are you
gonna
dump some cock water in your tank right now?
Why not?
I'm just kidding. Don't do this at home, folks. Don't just
Yeah, don't do this at home.
Yeah, you're putting it into the sump, right?
Oh no.
You go right into the tank?
Oh yeah, why not?
Oh boy.
No big deal. But the reason is that I have a big system. Now that is very important. So many things that a coral grower do shouldn't be done for regular hobbyists where you have a smaller tank. That's very important. For example, I can dump this thing in there because I have a huge volume.
Right.
And they get diluted.
Right.
So if you do that at home, well,
don't do that at home.
Don't do it at home. Don't.
Yeah, you want to drip it into the sump.
Yes, you have to drip it because it's all about the volume.
Yep. So a couple of questions. Corey Page. Hey, what's happening there, Corey? Is asking Don, what are your phosphates dosing so much Phyto? What are your phosphate levels?
My phosphate is always at 0.2 and 0.25 right now.
That's crazy high.
No, it's not.
Not for you.
I think, yeah, not for me. Because before that, I actually have a 0.5 ppm phosphate. And I managed to drop it to 0.25. But of course, I didn't see any difference. For matter of fact, that I use a very unconventional method to drop my phosphate quickly. And don't do it at home also. I basically induce a dino boom. So when you hear a dino, oh my God. But you can induce locally local dino boom to drop your phosphate. It's actually very effective, but it's also very technically challenged. So not recommended unless you have area like an empty refugium, you probably can try it. But when doing all this kind of thing for a crazy coral grower, no, many things are not suitable.
Yeah, for advanced reefers only.
Yeah, advanced reefer only, except the vitamin C. The vitamin C actually pretty easy.
Okay. Sturgis Reef is asking, what are you using for your phyto fertilizer?
Those are the F2 fertilizer. They're all the same.
F2. Yep.
No matter where you buy it, they're basically the same.
Yeah. All right, so Dong, let's switch gears a little bit here and talk about do-it-yourself coral snow treatment.
Okay.
So that's basically you're using a flocculant, right? Let's talk about that in terms of what are the benefits of doing that sort of treatment.
For me, the reason I use it is because I want crystal clear water. That is basically the most important aspect why I use the do-it-yourself coral snow. If I have to buy coral snow, I will go broke in no time. So I probably have to drink vitamin C as my only nutrient intake.
What is your you pass this along to me, but share it with the folks out there. What is your recipe for the coral snow?
Okay. So the reason that I use this recipe is because that first of all, let's talk about what exactly is coral snow. So coral snow actually is originated by alien that they found it on the Area 51. And then somebody take it and said these do magical things and have some nutrient export property. No, all joke, all lies. No. What coral snow exactly
You
is
had me there
calcium
for a
carbonate.
second.
It's a byproduct of UFO. So what exactly is coral snow is actually calcium carbonate, very fine powder of calcium carbonate. So is there somebody invented coral snow? I can tell you absolutely not. Because that calcium carbonate powder they use for water treatment as a flocculant has been around for several decades. That is what water treatment company do. It basically is just calcium carbonate powder.
Mm-hmm.
And there's tons of study done on that. And maybe your tanks of water supply is doing exactly that. It's something that is absolutely trivial, well known by all the water treatment process. So what it does is basically a fine, very fine calcium carbonate powder. It has so many surface area. Just try to imagine if you get a bag of activated carbon, you grind them to very fine powder, and now you have a gigantic of surface area, and then it just acts like coral snow. But the problem is that uh, activated carbon is black. When you add the black powder in your tank, that's really scary.
Yeah.
But calcium carbonate powder is white. It just look like the cut water, the precipitate under your cut water container. Actually, that's what exactly it is. Over time, whatever the solid at the bottom is calcium carbonate.
Right.
It's basically it's cut water reacting with the carbon dioxide in the air. Of course, reduce global warming by absorbing the carbon dioxide from the air. So then you form the calcium carbonate. That's a fine powder. So there's a study which I shared with you with that graph. So the the particle size of this calcium carbonate powder plays an important role. The finer the powder, the better its ability to absorb all the impurities. It basically is just a substance. It happen to be pure white, which is good looking, pure white, and then make us comfortable with those in our tank. Have huge amount of surface area. It acts just like ground up activated carbon. So all these organic molecules, they just adhere to it and remove from the water column. Also, it's a flocculant. So basically, the particle, a fine little calcium carbonate particle, when it just form, is small with a lot of surface area there.
Yep.
And now all these other things are starting to adhere to it. And then you end up with this. And now this, because it's so big, it drop out from the water column and export by your skimmer. And now here we go. That's how the flocculant work. So basically, this fine powder does two things. One is the surface area to adhere all the organic molecule. Because the water color, or called the water discolor, is mostly due to organic molecule in the water. That's where the color come from. So when those organic molecule adheres to your little orange, and they get removed from the water, a little calcium carbonate, so that your water will look very clear because the yellow color is gone. And when the orange become a grapefruit, it's big enough to fall off or go to your skimmer, get exported, and now your color is gone, and also the other impurity that attached to the thing also gone.
It,
So basically, it's a purification process.
is it necessary if you're using activated carbon 24/7 and you don't really have the yellowish tint to your water?
In that case, that the calcium carbonate just has less um, chemical to adhere to it. So, but then the thing is that coral snow definitely remove a lot more different type of organic molecule, including many of them have no color on it. It's clear. They remove those too because that coral snow is such a fine powder. It basically is is a super activated carbon. It does a much better job than your activated carbon. And because it also has a much larger surface area too.
Would you say that if you're using activated carbon 24/7, that you should stop doing that if you're doing a coral snow, or would the activated carbon help in addition to the coral snow treatments?
I run both.
You do both.
I always have activated carbon in there, because that all these methods, they only remove a portion of the organic purity, so you won't strip everything out. So I think that they don't conflict to each other. You can use one or the other. So
they're kind of helping one another.
Yeah.
Sidebar question: activated carbon. How often should we think about changing out activated carbon? I've always thought about, I've been under the assumption of and this is what I've done for years and years and years. I've always changed out my activated carbon after, I think, 3 weeks.
I think 2 to 3 weeks is about right.
Yeah.
For matter of fact, most activated carbon, they lose the majority of the potency maybe in 1 or 2 days. So as a chemist, when we add activated carbon in some reaction, you can see that the activated carbon acts really quickly, but also get retarded. It gets saturated very, very quickly. So I think that the first 24 hours probably is most active. You remove the most of the material.
Right.
But then you still have some capacity to continue to keep your water clean, maybe like 2 to 3 weeks. And it's very difficult to imagine that it's actually still active after 3 weeks.
Right.
Yeah, for example, some activated carbon saying that, well, you keep your water clear, salt water clear for 6 months. I think this is just so ridiculous.
So a couple of comments and questions. Chris C. Running a tank without a skimmer, what would snow still be helpful if you're running a tank without a skimmer?
It does.
Okay.
But it will be less helpful. The reason for that is that most of this grapefruit, the coral snow with a lot of junk stick on it, is going to heat to your live rock or precipitate down to your sand. It's not actually being removed from your system. But when you have a skimmer, some of them is the grapefruit physically get removed out of the system. But of course, that when the coral snow precipitate down and on your live rock, and those organic molecules will permanently stick on it, they won't get released back to your water anyway. So you're still doing a cleaning job. But so just let's think about this way. Well, a pretty gross way is that when you use your toilet paper, you probably should toss it out to the trash can. Yeah.
You flush that, yeah.
Right, you flush that.
Not the trash can, dog.
Not trash can, you flush that.
So I saw somebody made a comment about vermetid snails. I know that people do use coral snow for insane reef, or do you think it works by clogging vermetid snails? What do you think about using that for vermetid snails?
No, it won't work at all.
Yeah, I did it. It didn't really help me.
Yeah, first of all, that the coral snow, when it disperses throughout the system, it doesn't even affect the gill of the fish. So the fish can swim in a partially cloudy tank. They're not get affected. How can those vermetid snails get affected at all? And especially they have trapdoor. They close the door and everything is out.
Yeah.
So they just theoretically shouldn't have any effect on those vermetid snails.
But there is a. I was going to ask you, what would be your advice to somebody that wants to get rid of their vermetid snails?
Super glue gel.
Yeah. Good luck with that.
Oh no, actually, seriously,
it works. Yeah, but to find all of them, it's if you got a big tank.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
That's going to be. But on the other hand, those snails are actually not as harmful as people think.
Yeah, they don't bother me that much. I mean, I see the webs coming out and whatnot, but I don't think it's that big of a deal.
Yeah.
Personally, but.
I totally agree with you. I actually asked somebody that is holding a scientific paper and telling me how bad this vermetid snail is. So I read the paper. I, I pointed out to him, the study is done on an area have millions of the Vermeid snail. They basically just shaded the coral.
Mm.
It's that much in order to damage the coral. They are physically grow on the coral, shaded it so that the coral dies. It's not like here is a coral, here's a snail, and then the snail will kill the coral. No, it's not like that. The study was done on a reef area. It's super infested with those snails, and there's basically no place for coral to grow. And that is what that paper is for. It's not like your snail here and we kill your coral there. No, it doesn't.
I mean, what I do is, like, if I have a vermeid snail and it's throwing out its web next to an acro or something like that, then yeah, I'll take care of that vermeid snail. I'll go in and do something to it, because it's pissing off a specific coral, but it will certainly, you're not going to snuff out the problem entirely, but I think that if it's like really getting on a particular coral, then it's worth kind of like picking one off here or there. But to be able to totally eliminate them, I see that Dominic from On Point Corals said he's had results with bumblebee snails, but he knows Dong doesn't buy it. Bumblebee snails.
Oh, bumblebee snail. Actually, well, I think it probably work because that it makes sense the bumblebee snail to eat the vermeid snail.
Yeah.
But the chance of but how many bumblebee snail do you need? There's a lot.
Yeah, I think I did have some luck with bumblebee snails. That kind of cut back the population of the vermeid snails.
I think it's theoretically it works. But for me, is that my tubes of super glue is much cheaper and easier to go there glue. Done.
Yeah. So Black Pedagogue, if I'm pronouncing that correctly, I was going to ask you this question. Does Dong add bacteria to his coral snow to combat the cyano? Is bacteria part of your coral snow treatment?
No. The reason is that if you add coral snow and adding bacteria, you basically work against yourself. So what the coral snow is really good at is adhese bacteria on it, and then remove the bacteria out of the water column. That's one part of the flocculent effect. And bacteria as a greasy little ball, they boom, adheres to the coral snow. So there is really, it basically just work against yourself by using bacterial dosing and coral snow, if that's what it means.
Right. I think there is a thought out there that adding bacteria to the equation can help with the fight against cyano, but your coral snow recipe, the fact that it acts as a flocculant is, it's reducing organics, right? So that will help cyano potentially recede.
Basically, it's the idea to rub the food out of baby's mouth.
Yeah. Correct.
Yeah.
Correct.
So, for dosing bacteria is actually come to think about it this way is that what exactly the bacteria? So if I know the bacterial strain, and then I have I can find scientific literature showing that this strains of bacteria can actually cannibalize or kill the cyanobacteria. Yeah, I will think about it. Yeah, that probably is a good thing because in the nature, using one bacteria to kill the other bacteria is pretty common. And for matter of fact, that's how many of the antibiotic is being discovered.
Right.
So yeah.
And you're not a fan of dosing bacteria, I know that.
Actually, it depends on if I know what bacteria I'm dosing or not.
Oh, you're changing your tune on dosing bacteria?
No. The thing is that if that bottle is a bacteria, clearly label what's on it.
Oh, okay. So if you knew what you were dosing, then
exactly. Otherwise, I won't dose it. For example, just like if I go to your house and start tossing bacteria around your house, Keith, that help your health. Merry Christmas! The whole batch of unknown bacteria. I don't think that anybody would be happy about it.
Have you? Do you have any knowledge in terms of what they're doing at Hydrospace LLC. I'm pretty sure they, people help me out in the chat here, but I'm pretty sure they have the exact strains of the bacteria that are in their bottles that you can dose.
To kill cyanobacteria?
No, just for, what kind of the benefits of dosing bacteria in terms of probiotics and coral food and that sort of thing.
Coral, well, here's
Coral
the thing.
health.
Well, when the bacteria, the bacteria on the label, so most of the bacteria on label actually is the bacteria already in your tank. Yeah, when I browse around the bacterial product, either it's a mystery box that you never know what's inside, or it's the bacteria that is so common that is already in your tank, and mostly denatrification bacteria. But here comes the interesting side. So denatrification bacteria also wrap the food out of baby's mouth of your cyano. It's competing for its nutrient. So, but this, on the other hand, is that how viable is this bottle of the bacteria sitting on the store shelf? So if the scenario is like this, now that I was given a bottle of bacteria right from the company who produced them, with the label on it saying what it is in there, and and give me a stack of paper, scientific paper. Oh yeah, this bacteria will kill your cyano. I will dose it in a heartbeat. Seriously.
If you had scientific. Yeah.
But if that bottle of bacteria sitting on a store shelf at room temperature for more than a week, hell no. So sorry about the language, and that.
No, it's not a family show, so you can,
Okay, so then much better than reef beef.
Yeah, right. Reef beef, yeah.
Seriously.
Well, they warn you before you watch it there, so you know.
Yeah, exactly. So I think my point is that anything that goes into my tank, I need to know what they are.
Yeah,
I need to know what they do.
That's a great point. They're
and also it's food safe.
Well, you keep drinking that vitamin C there, Dong.
Oh yeah, it's good. It's good for me.
Just to go back to our earlier conversation in terms of water clarity, and I saw somebody ask about this, and I forgot to ask you about it. But ozone. What are your thoughts about using ozone?
Yeah, ozone do the water clarity thing via a different way. Ozone is a very strong oxidizer. And here is a very interesting property of many organic molecules. When those organic molecules being oxidized by oxidizer like ozone, if it has some yellow color, brown color, when you get oxidized, it turns clear. That is an interesting organic molecule property. Many of them, I'm not saying 100% of them, but many organic compounds which has color after being oxidized by ozone or any strong oxidant, and then you turn into colorless. So that is how the ozone remove the water color to make it clear. But there is a very important thing. Even that molecule being oxidized to this oxidized to this, is still in your water. So using ozone, basically, to make the water clear is more like a cosmetic effect. So that molecule just changed a different form, become a bigger oxidized, but it's still in your water. If that molecule is harmful, when you oxidize, it probably even become more harmful, or maybe less harmful. Who knows? But it's still in your water. It doesn't get removed. So that is the important thing, is that even your water become clear, it's more a cosmetic surgery. It does not change the fundamental thing, is that impurity you want to remove, still in your water. But on coral snow, when coral snow get exported by the skimmer, and that, you're out. So just like flush down the toilet, it totally removed. So it's much better. The proper way to use coral snow is to use a good skimmer alongside with coral snow. So you want the coral snow to grab all this junk and become so big and then you get removed by the skimmer and down the toilet.
Right, and you're
Let it
not,
go.
you know, I know some recipes for coral snow say turn off the skimmer and turn off the return pumps and let the coral snow settle on the substrate and the rocks and all that sort of thing. But in your recipe, you're basically calling for just business as usual after you dose the coral snow, correct?
Yep.
Don't turn off anything.
Don't turn off anything. You want the coral snow to sustain in the water as long as possible. Not precipitating on your rock, not precipitating on your sand. Well, at least minimize that effect. It's basically like putting your toilet paper on your floor. You want to down the toilet, not on your floor. If you shut off the flow, this end up on your floor, and that means the toilet paper everywhere. So the important thing is that let the particle suspended so that it can travel to the sun, hit the skimmer, and because now it's a much bigger particle, especially when the coral snow have a lot of organic molecule adheres on it, it becomes more hydrophobic and easier for the skimmer to pull out. So when you go to the skimmer cup, it's out, it's down the toilet, gone, and then your mission accomplished because you remove those impurities.
Couple of more questions about this, Dong. So calcium carbonate, right? You're saying that basically the recipe is calcium carbonate. When you and I were talking, your basic recommendation to me was take some ESV2 part and mix part A into part B, shake vigorously, and dose. And there was specific recommendations in terms of how much to mix and how much to dose and all that sort of thing. Is that what you would recommend folks to do? Is to mix up a couple of 2-part, or actually go and buy some powdered calcium carbonate and mix that up?
Well, so if it's easier for you to get the calcium carbonate powder to mix them up, and that works. But keep in mind that if you use the part A and part B, mix them together, the reaction will produce 1-to-1 ratio, just like you're dosing. The end result of this chemical reaction is produce calcium carbonate, fresh, newly born calcium carbonate. And that means that the powder is really, really fine. And anything that you can buy from Amazon, for example, like in a powder, and the size, particle size probably is kind of big, on the big side. Otherwise, that because the important thing is that when you open up the bottle, if the powder really fine, and then it become a hazard.
Oh, so physically you can inhale it, and that's not good.
Yeah, physically you inhale it. So that means that the most of calcium carbonate powder you bought, the particle size is pretty big. So just like the paper I shared with you, is that the finer the size, the more effective it is for the
So that's
coral
why
snow.
you were recommending
just make your own
liquid, mixing the
liquid. And then when you mix 2 liquid together, it doesn't matter which one go in first or which one go in last. You just pour them together, shake, and then make a milk and pour in your tank. So that will give you the newborn coral snow with an ultra fine powder, ultra small size. Yeah.
I saw a question here from who was it? Made a comment about ammonium dosing.
Okay.
What are your thoughts on that? That doesn't sound terribly safe.
Actually, ammonium chloride dosing, ammonium hydroxide dosing.
Okay,
are being it's commonly being used by coral farm, clam farm.
It was Reef Reptiles that had that question. Yep.
Oh, okay. So actually, the dosing ammonium chloride, ammonium hydroxide is pretty commonly used in coral farm. But just like I said before, this is actually one method. Be very careful. The reason for that is that they are dosing the ammonium chloride, ammonium hydroxide in 10,000 gallon system. So that is actually, there's a lot of room of error that, just in case overdose. And when you have a huge system, and it probably has a less damaging effect. So think about it. The way is that reef tank, the pH is about 8.2, 8.3. When your ammonium chloride get into your tank, you become ammonia. You're dosing ammonia. And also another thing is that the fish population in coral farm, I'm not talking about the coral farm like this. I'm talking about coral farm like
Big.
Like maybe like Chris Mackley,
Yeah.
the huge, big. So the fish density probably is much lower than what we have right now. So when you dose ammonium chloride or ammonium hydroxide, even worse, you're dosing ammonia straight to your tank. So your fish is going to get hit. So that is a really dangerous thing to do. If you have no fish, oh, no problem, because that coral, they're happy to see ammonia, because the ammonia is one of the easiest nitrogen format that coral can take in. They readily take in. So remember that when Jake Adams was alive, and one time that he was saying on live stream, when you have a new tank, you add coral first and then you add fish. Because coral has a much higher tolerance of ammonia. For matter of fact, they love it. You got 1 ppm ammonia in your tank with coral only, the coral love it.
Yeah.
And actually, your 1 ppm ammonia probably do more magic than your 10 ppm of nitrate. But if you have your a powder brown tank, your hippo tank, your dory, your Nemo, with 1 ppm ammonia sitting in there,
No good.
No good.
Yeah.
So think about this way is that some method can be utilized for coral farm. So to grow coral may not be suitable for home aquarium, because the situation is different, the volume is different, the inhabitant inside the tanks are different. So I always tell people that when this question come up is that these things are icing on the cake. So your coral might grow 5% faster, but who cares? Seriously.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For a
and
hobbyist, it doesn't really matter that much.
It doesn't really matter that much.
Yeah.
So, and also all these methods, when you push the envelope, that means that you also increase your risk. It's easier for the tank to go haywire, to basically break the tank, all that kind of thing. So is it really worth the effort to put your tank at a higher risk just for achieving 5% coral growth? No, probably not.
No.
But for a coral farm, it's a different story. 5% coral growth is a lot. That means that 5% more revenue.
Right, more coral, 5% more coral.
Yeah. More, that's a huge.
NSB Reefs reminded me of something, and that this whole peeing in the tank phenomenon. I know Rich Ross, Reef Beef, has talked about people used to pee in their tanks and all that sort of thing. So that's ammonia.
That's true.
Right?
That's true.
Yeah.
That's true.
Yeah. Please don't demonstrate that, Dong.
Pretty difficult. This is so tall. Okay, so actually, the pee in a tank, the story, it came out originally from a clam farm. So I like to dig into this kind of story, just like those the website called the Snoop or something like that. So there are all these internet, all these old wife tale, and they always have origin. So the origin of that pee in a tank thing is actually is originated from clam farm. So you go back to the story is that clam become protected species because in Southeast Asia, so many wild clam population get decimated for food. And then after all the international law, whatever, clam actually fall into that category. But clam meat are one of the major food source. So farming clam become a high priority. But clam in the nature grow really, really slow. So basically, at the beginning, the clam farm was deemed economically not viable because clam grow too slow. So, but then it happened is that some raceway of the clam actually grow much faster. It turns out the people who keeping those raceway are peeing in them. And then people start to find out nitrate, ammonia, urea actually can accelerate the growth of a clam by 4 times, or sometimes even 6 times. That means that normally if you take 2 years for a clam from a baby, a tiny one, to a sellable size for your clam chowder, it takes about 2 years. That is not viable for the too slow. But now, 6 months, you got the same size. Suddenly, the clam farm business become sustainable. They even paper publish about how to raise clams. Basically, 5 ppm of nitrate. Yeah,
Wow.
that's what it is.
Wow.
5 ppm and 5 ppm of nitrate, 1 ppm ammonia, whatever those so-called trade secret is not really secret. They're all published. So yeah, that's where pee in the tank thing actually came from. It actually is a very important thing. It revolutionized the whole clam farm thing by peeing in the tank. And that actually lead to another dosing phenomena. We have a reef tank. If you do a search on Google, you'll find out people actually dose urea in a tank. But for matter of fact, I think urea dosing is much better than ammonia dosing because that urea is much less toxic to your fish.
Yeah, it's not something that I would really play around with.
not worth it.
But, talking about out there ideas, I wanted to ask you this question. Since we're talking about dosing kind of things that are out there, do you know Bob Stark ESV? Have you heard that name?
Yeah.
He like swears by dosing bleach to his reef tanks. What are your thoughts on dosing bleach?
Yes. Dosing bleach basically is a strong oxidizer.
Oxidizer,
yeah. Yeah. When you use bleach carefully, by tiny amount, it actually do the same thing as your ozone dosing. Same idea. Strong oxidizer. It make your water clear, crystal clear. But if you drink too much beer, you add too much bleach, and then you get a crystal clear tank with no coral in it. So that is the thing. Well, if you dose bleach in your tank in a very careful fashion, and you also test, it's testable for matter of fact for bleach. So, but it's too risky. Seriously, it's way too risky for any reefer to do. That is just. But in theory and in practice, when you do it carefully, it actually works. But it's like I remember that in the ancient history, and some emperor, some queen and king, they eat a little bit of poison, dose a little bit of poison to their food.
Yeah.
So they build up the immune system.
Yeah.
No. So they
Immunity.
they can build up the tolerance for poison. So then they have to do it so carefully, because that too much will kill them. That's the same thing as bleach. Small amount, tiny amount, pretty good. Then you got crystal clear water. If you accidentally shake your hand, too much go in there, and then there's a funeral of your fish. Your Dory, your Nemo, all go to funeral.
So you're kind of living on the edge.
Yeah, it's not worth it.
Yeah.
But it's a viable theory, and yet if you do it carefully, you got crystal clear water.
Yep.
Same thing as ozone.
Gotcha. Alex C., thank you so much for that super chat. I finally made it to a live chat. Love your show, Keith. Awesome to hear Dong again. Very enjoyable. Happy holidays.
Thank you.
Thank you
very much.
So, Dong, we talked a little bit about bacteria dosing and so side effects. Are there any side effects to bacteria dosing? Can you develop cyano from bacteria dosing, even though some folks believe that dosing certain bacteria can help eliminate cyano?
Okay. Now, yes and no. Here's the thing. If that bottle of bacteria comes straight from the laboratory, straight to my door, in a cooler, and what's inside is alive and guaranteed, I put it in my tank, it probably will compete with the cyano. It will do what it does. But if this bottle sitting in a store shelf for more than a week, a month, a year, most of the bacteria inside will be dead. And what they left behind are pollutants. So when you add this bottle into your tank, you actually polluted your tank. It actually will increase your cyano. So that is a difference. That's why the quality of the bacteria is very important. But to get a good quality of bottled bacteria, you cannot sit on the store shelf.
I think one thing that I've heard about bottled bacteria is that if it gets shipped in freezing temperatures, and that's potentially a problem where it can kill the bacteria in the during transit. So yeah, I think my understanding is there are certain things that need to certain like temperature ranges that the bacteria have to be in, or else it is
and oxygen.
Yep. What about what was my other? What about dry bacteria? Is that a better alternative?
Yes, indeed it is a much better alternative, because dry bacteria, preserving bacteria by drying them is a well-established method. And when the survival rate or revival rate when they hit the water is pretty high. For a matter of fact, that is a much better way to preserve the bacteria, and then it's stable in room temperature when they're dry, and then you add to your tank. So that actually is a much better way than a bottle of liquid. And also for the hobbyist, when you get a dry bacteria, you're actually getting the bacteria.
Yeah, I use the.
When you get this bottle, you're getting a bottle of junk.
I use the. I use the dry bacteria from Captivate Aquaculture to remediate, and that's a dry bacteria, and basically it doesn't activate until it hits that that tank water. What about alternatives to bacteria dosing, carbon dosing, right? So people can dose vodka to their tanks to accelerate bacteria growth. Is that a better alternative versus bacteria dosing?
Okay, so both bacteria dosing and the carbon dosing, such as like the vodka vinegar, is the same method, basically rubbing the food out of the baby's mouth. The same idea. So how the carbon dosing, like the vodka and vinegar dosing, is basically providing a carbon source to promote the growth of the bacteria already living in your tank. When they grow, and they take out all these nutrients. So because the amount of this kind of bacteria probably overwhelm what the cyano, the population, the cyano or dino. So, and also that by removing the nutrient, available nutrient from the water, that will limit the cyano or dino growth. With that said, you do need a very good protein skimmer, because a bacterial dosing without good protein skimmer is a terrible way to kill your tank. Example number one, I know a guy that several years ago, and then he used a biopellet. At the time, it's really popular using biopellet. Biopellet basically is a solid form of carbon dosing. It's just like the solid form of the dosing vinegar or vodka. What he does is that he doesn't have a skimmer. He got a the what do you call it, the reactor for the
biopellet reactor.
The biopellet. Yep. He can see the pellet start melting away, and then his coral start dying, because all the bacteria grows. They take up all the oxygen. Because when that's another important thing, you should have a skimmer if you want to do carbon dosing. You make sure the oxygen level in your tank is adequate, because when bacteria grows, and then you take the oxygen away, so he ended up crashing his whole tank. It's basic, and including his fish, all starving from oxygen. So that is important thing, is that when you want to do carbon dosing, you need a good skimmer, and also you better do water change seriously. That is another way to remove all the junk out of it.
So it's risky, right? I mean, it's risky to carbon dose.
No, not really. Actually, I think that carbon dosing probably safer than dosing bacteria. The reason, number one, carbon dosing is utilizing the bacteria you already have in your tank. So those bacteria in your tank is 100% alive. So when you dose a bacterial product, you probably have what 10% alive. When that thing sitting in a bottle, and maybe
Yeah,
80%
you're saying
alive.
that
Yeah,
there are some dead bacteria in that bottle.
yeah. And all the dead bacteria in the bottle will become the nutrient to be removed. So that actually counterproductive. So when you're using carbon dosing and you're promoting the bacteria to grow in your tank, and all those bacteria are in perfect health, they're 100% alive, and also they already adapted to your tank environment.
I guess
So they're ready to grow.
I guess my question though is if you dose too much, then you're going to accelerate the bacteria growth too fast, and they could suck up the
Yes,
nutrients too fast, which would be
yes,
kind of a
that can
shock
happen.
to the system. I mean, I guess that's what I was talking about in terms of the risk.
Okay, yep, that actually is a very good point. That is the reason that I won't recommend using biopellet, but dosing vodka or vinegar, because biopellet, you have no way to control how much carbon you put in your tank. It's depending on the composition of the biopellet, how good it's being manufactured, and also your reactor size, your flow rate, your biopellet size, and also the bacteria that require to cleave those atoms, sorry, those molecules of those biopellets. So many factors there, you have no way to control it. But when you're dosing vodka vinegar, you know how much you dose. 1 ml is 1 ml. 2 ml is 2 ml. It's precisely controlled. Biopellet is uncontrollable. So that is the biopellet actually originally developed for farming fish.
Mm.
Yeah, so uh, coral is a lot more sensitive and fragile. For example, that when your bacteria are growing haywire and your oxygen level become very low in a pond for growing fish, the fish you can see they jumping around and grabbing air from the water surface, or even poke their head out of the water. The coral cannot do that. The coral just sit there. Oh my God,
Corals are
and die.
screwed.
Yeah, true. Yeah, exactly. So that's why biopellet is something that you should never use seriously, and just leave the biopellet to those fish farmer. And it's really not good for growing coral. If you want to do carbon dosing, vodka or vinegar. So actually, dosing vodka and vinegar are the same thing. Because the vodka, the alcohol, the ethanol has to be converted to vinegar first by some of the bacteria in your tank, and then uh, absorbed by another bacteria to grow. So basically, your dosing vinegar, dosing vodka is exactly the same thing, but they're good and bad. So the good thing is that dosing vodka, you dose there's no effect on your pH, because the vinegar can affect your pH. If you have a 1,000 gallon tank, 250 gallon tank, no big deal. Like Greg Healer has a 400 gallon tank, he can dose vinegar because it's such a big volume, right?
Right.
If you have a 20 gallon nano, if you want to do carbon dosing, stick to vodka. Don't use vinegar because that you fluctuate your pH too much.
Hey, Chris Carney's out there. What's happening there, Chris? His comments, Jake and I used vodka to carbon dose during college in 2002. So it's been going on for a long time.
Oh, exactly. Especially when carbon dosing to yourself is really effective. Like a martini, shake but not stir. Yeah, absolutely. So basically, the funny thing is that when we talk about carbon dosing, one shot vodka for the tank, one shot for me.
Well, yeah, John Wright says I dose vodka, but not in my tank. But my tank looks
Yeah, exactly.
better after dosing.
Oh, exactly. Actually, another thing to make your tank the color pops a lot more is that every year I went to the eye doctor. So he dilate my pupil. When I come
I thought you were
back,
going to say
all my
you take
corals
mushrooms
color.
or something like that.
Oh, mushroom is another option. But dilating your pupil and then look at the color, it's fantastic. Oh my God, I never know that coral look like that. So there is actually there's another interesting business idea that some people ask me about is by you spray paint the front of your tank with an orange film. So use orange film, spray painted your tank, turn on your blue LED. Voila, your coral pops.
You spray paint your tank, really?
Oh yeah, it's a transparent paint. It's like gel. It's like orange gel. So just spray on the tank. Then there's another idea is
that's
that
the
get
back
those.
of the tank, right?
No, the
Front.
front.
Oh.
Just like you're wearing the orange glass. Another guy is saying that just a plaster with film, orange film, in front of your tank and turn on the blue LED. Voila!
Yeah, pops.
Pops, and then your coral also will die later on.
What John Ryan's asking, what's your recommendation in terms of vodka dosing? How much would you dose?
Oh, there actually, if you do a water dosing search on Google, there's a program there tells you step by step how much to dose and what's the dosage at different time period. It's very detailed. So people have spent so much time and try and error and to come up with this kind of table. So you just do a Google search on it. There you can immediately find the recipe, the table on Reef to Reef or Reef Central.
Right. Yeah. There's a lot of literature out there. Let's talk about something different, Dong. Stability in a reef tank. I know when I've had you on before, we've talked about how you believe, and I've witnessed this too, that it's not necessarily critical to keep alkalinity stable. Like the DKH can swing, and acros can handle that swing. You know, a lot of people hammer home the fact that stability is so key with a reef tank. If we exclude, let's say, alkalinity, and let's not focus on that, what other things in terms of parameters would you say are important to keep stable, or do you think that's not important in terms of stability, in terms of certain parameters?
Very good question. For matter of fact, the stability, if you can keep your tank stable, and it's not too much effort for you, why not, right? Right. But now the question is that what happens if my tank, the parameters swing all over the place? Will that be harmful? Probably not. Because if you look at a natural reef, the natural reef is really not that stable as people think it is. So there's many studies show there on Great Barrier Reef. Yeah, the salinity swing, alkalinity swing, temperature swing. So, and right now that I see some studies showing that your calcium can be as low as 250 ppm with no effect, which should make sense because the calcium is transported actively into the coral. So I think that the stability should be a range instead of a number. For example, your alkalinity can be 7 to 11, just like your convenience store. As long as in that range, you're fine, no problem. What happens if you dip below 7 for a short period of time? No big deal.
Yeah. Let me chime in because my in one of my systems, my alkalinity dipped into like the 5.6 range for like a day, 2 days.
Yeah.
But that's also the importance. And I know you don't have an alkalinity monitor, but I knew that because I monitor my DKH twice a day, so I was able to address that, and it only was at that level for like a day, maybe 2 days. So I think I experienced that in terms of it was in that very, very low, uncomfortable range for me, yet it did not have any ill effect on the corals because it was just brief.
And actually, that it happened to me 2 days ago.
Oh, it did?
Yeah, this system. The calcium reactor, actually the carbon dioxide ran out. I didn't pay attention to that.
Oh, the media ran out.
Yeah. No, not the media. It's a carbon dioxide tank.
Oh, the tank. Okay, the CO2.
Yeah. So because I check my alkalinity every day, so when I wake up, I check, oh my God, 6.5. Then I look at the tank. Oh yeah, the CO2 is gone. It's out. So I swap the tank and now bump it back to 9. Nothing happened. And for matter of fact, but for a long period of time at low alkalinity, I don't think that helps. That probably shouldn't be. Probably should have some pretty bad side effect. But briefly, it's not really a big deal. And if you look at it scientifically, alkalinity is just a buffering capacity. So it's really not a single element or a nutrient that your coral have to be keep stable to be function. No, it doesn't. Because that even the calcification can still happen if your alkalinity is 6.5 or even 5.6. Yeah, it still can happen. It probably happens slower, but it still happens. But does it has any permanent damage effect? Look at the biology. No, it shouldn't. It shouldn't have that. But of course, that when the environment fluctuates too much, and no living animal will like it. That's
Right.
for sure.
Right.
But do we have to keep at such a narrow range? I don't think so. Because like human, for example, that when you walk upstairs, you live in your bedroom in winter, 65 degrees, perfectly fine. Then you go down to the living room, 72. And then they go down here, 78. Oh my God. So, but does it really matter for me? No, it doesn't. And so it doesn't really matter for my cats, my dog. No, it doesn't. So every living being has a tolerance. So, but if I go outside right now and stay there for 20 something degrees, yeah, that's a big problem. So I think everything should have a range. As long as the parameter is within the range, and coral is fine, especially temperature. I remember that somebody was saying that temperature acclimation for fish. In the ocean, the fish are swimming up and down. Actually, in the ocean, the temperature gradient is pretty big. And you can get to the surface like 83 degrees, and you swim down to 72, you swim down to 70, or even lower than 70. The fish will go up and down all day long.
Right.
Yeah. So every living species will have a tolerance of a parameter. It doesn't have to be rock stable. But of course, that if you can spend your time and effort to keep it absolutely stable, why not, right?
What about nutrients, nitrates, phosphates? Those bottom out. Corals don't like it.
I think that right now, I think that the underlying thing about phosphate and nitrate, it probably is not just the phosphate and nitrate level, because that the phosphate and nitrate we measure are the leftover phosphate and nitrate after being consumed by all the living animal in the reef tank. That's what we're measuring. Just like open your fridge, the bottle of milk you're looking at is your leftover bottle of milk. So you have a half gallon of leftover. It has no indication about how much milk you should consume. Just like when we're measuring nitrate and phosphate, we are looking at the leftover nitrate and phosphate after the coral or bacterial or whatever consume them. So in this case, that by measuring phosphate and nitrate, the way I think about it is that we should look at the upper limit instead of the lower limit. For example, you assuming your phosphate at 0 and your nitrate at 0, it does not mean that your coral does not get any nitrate phosphate, as long as you're feeding your fish, right? So it only means that there's no leftover phosphate and nitrate if you test them both at 0.
What if you?
I
just want to interject. What if you notice some fading in your corals?
Mm-hmm. Okay, in that case, that may indicate, the coral probably doesn't get enough.
Right.
But that is why what I'm trying to do is that I want to have a little bit a testable of nitrate and testable of phosphate. Well, for my testable phosphate point of view.
What's your test kit for phosphate?
You just a
Saliford.
So yeah, Saliford is just an estimate. So what I want to know is that do I have a leftover? So if I have a leftover nitrate and leftover phosphate, that means that coral and whatever bacterial coral, they get enough. That's something they already consume what they need. That's a leftover thing. Another thing I want to look at is that I do not want 2 or 3 ppm of phosphate. A high phosphate level, that means something's wrong.
Yeah.
Or maybe I'm feeding too much. Like a very high level of nitrate, which means that something wrong or you're feeding too much leftover, you start to rot. So just like that. That's why that the way I look at testing phosphate and nitrate is as long as there's leftover, I'm happy. as long as there's not too much left over, I'm happy. What exactly number they are, doesn't matter.
Well, then I guess you also have to look at the situation in the tank in terms of whether or not you're getting cyano and problematic algae popping up. Then, then that's also an indication that you're just kind of feeding that issue.
Too much.
Yeah.
Yep. So that's why right now that I'm thinking about is that in general, we're probably feeding too much to our tank.
Too much fish food, too much coral food,
too much fish food, too much coral food, too much stuff.
Yeah.
Because that we have a closed system. So I remember that maybe more than a decade ago, there is an open letter from a marine biologist to the reef hobbyists, the community, saying that you guys are starving your coral. And the way he look at the natural reef, there's so much food available to coral that they're eating nonstop so much. But that is an open system. It doesn't, when the food fly over the coral, the leftover food does not get rotten, does not create problem because it's an open system. But in a closed system, the story is entirely different. So if you put on 1 milligram of something in there, if it does not get consumed, it still stay there. Or maybe consumed slowly. If a 0.1 milligram, 1/10 of them get consumed, you have 90% left over. It's still there. It doesn't fly away, like in the ocean. In the ocean is that maybe 1 million plankton fly around the coral, 10 of them get consumed, the rest of the 9 million, whatever, fly away. It does not do anything bad. But in our tank, if it feed them coral too much, and whatever thing that the leftover will be rotting in the tank and creating the cyano problem, dino problem. That is, we are feeding too much. And also another thing is that I started saying that the manufacturer recommendation on the coral food maybe too much, seriously. And if you look at how much, especially SPS, so how much fresh they have, not that much. They're mostly skeleton. So how much food they actually eat probably is really not that much, especially we still have fish. The fish, well, it's much easier to control for the fish food, but all the fish food will turn into poop and pee, 100% of them. All the thing about all the fish pellet, frozen food that you feed to your fish, they will be all become available after they get excreted from the fish inside the tank. So when we feed our tank, we should also consider the amount of fish food that we put into it. Those fish food will be 100%, well, not 100% because some of them transform into the fat yellow tank. So a majority of them will become waste and come out from the fish and become nutrient or those bad nutrient, excess nutrient in the water. So the thing is that I think we in general, we probably overfeeding the fish and coral, especially we like to watch them eat. Watch them just grow haywire.
Makes you feel good.
So, yeah, it makes you feel good.
Refresh everybody, Dong, in terms of what your regimen is in terms of feeding your fish and corals.
Right now, I actually significantly reduce them. So I feed my unsponsored pellet food.
How long does that bag last you?
2 months. Seriously,
man, you're feeding too much, Dong.
Well,
you got a lot of fish.
I have a lot of fish.
Yeah.
I have over 100 fish. Last time I count.
Yeah.
After I count over 100, I stop counting.
Wait, so you're dumping pellets into the tank? Pellets? I don't know what kind of. I think those sink, right? Are those sinking pellets? What happens? Yes, what happens if they sink to the bottom? Is that something you worry about?
No, because that the fish will pick them up.
Find them.
Here you go.
They'll find them on the bottom.
Yeah, that is another reason I use the new light spectrum food, because that they stay long enough in the tank. Even they sink to the bottom, they don't disintegrate. They don't melt away within like 12 hours, something like that. So there's a chance for the fish to go to pick them up. You can see that actually, especially clownfish, they scavenger the bottom. That's why I recommend that everybody should have some clownfish in your tank. Seriously, They are the cleanup crew.
Oh yeah.
For leftover fish food.
Yeah, I love clownfish.
Yeah.
Have you ever any success having 2 pairs of clownfish in the same tank?
No.
I love clownfish.
But I do have a trio though.
Oh, right. I remember seeing that.
Yeah. Yeah. 1, 2, 3.
Yeah.
So there are. This is another phenomenon in the nature, which is pretty common for clownfish, because that there's a lot more clownfish than anemone. That's why they developed this trio. So basically, 1 male, 1 female, 1 asexual. So if the male dies, the asexual one will kicks in, become a male or something like that. When the female dies, the male become a female, and then the asexual one become the male or whatever, something like that. So this is the nature solution for too little house, too many people. Yeah, that's a trio.
So all right, you got your pellets, you feed Phyto, and you've got this homemade frozen food, and that's about it, right? And the homemade frozen and the homemade food is salmon and maybe some shrimp and scallops if you want. Some
shrimp. Yep. If I feel generous, I put some scallops.
And that's it. You're not. Are you still using reefroids?
Occasionally.
Occasionally.
Yeah, occasionally I still add some reefroid. Just, but I don't think it's necessary after the homemade frozen food. But the thing is, I still have it. I still have the bag sitting here.
Reefroids.
Well, I pay money for it.
So you might as well toss a pinch in here and there.
Yeah, here, use it up.
And the salmon, you're using the salmon instead of amino acids because the salmon's got the amino acids in it.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
For matter of fact, many frozen food, amino acids just after the food degrade become amino acid. For matter of fact, that even the pellet solid food contains amino acid. The dosing amino acid is right now. I'm not dosing any amino acid. I don't think it's necessary. Because first of all, that there's so much amino acid already in the water, from your fish food, frozen food, fish poop, and also photosynthesis. Because part of the byproduct of photosynthesis also contain amino acid. So I really don't think that makes any difference at all.
Yeah, it's I think it just comes down to what you were saying before, Dong, which is that we're probably dosing too many things to our reef tanks.
Yeah, too many things to a reef tank, and sometimes that right now what I found very curious about the certain food, the clam has no phosphate. That thing is kind of bizarre. So when a fish food, a coral food clam has no phosphate, that's not really food. Any food has phosphate in it. That's a primary basic building block of all organic material. So there's no way that there's no phosphate in it. And also another thing is that I try to simplify all this feeding, all the chores, all the works, and spend more time looking at the coral and the fish. So make it simple. You basically pellet food every day. Then twice a week, drop some homemade frozen food to it. And that's pretty much it. And when I feel so guilty, I pay for this bag of things, I add some to it so I can feel better. But I know that it's not necessary to do that, but I pay money for it.
One last question here. John Wright, ReefBum, does Dong add yeast to his tank? Yeast.
Okay, that's a very good question. Same as vitamin C, yeast was a big thing, like hot water. Yeah, seriously. Basically, I actually tried that for a while.
Yeast.
I don't see any significant difference.
What's the theory in terms of adding yeast to a reef tank?
It's just adding organic material in your tank.
So you're adding the organic material, okay?
Yeah, similar to dosing bacteria for food purpose. So basically, the yeast is basically just very fine organic material that the coral can take in. So that is back where the day when everybody is focused on ultra fine, sometimes even liquid coral food. So coral can uptake those nutrients because that coral has such a small mouth, especially SPS. So that's when the yeast comes in. So I don't see much a difference there, but there's no side effect, not harmful. And I know people dosing yeast that they say, oh, it works pretty well, which I believe it, and it's just organic material in a very, very fine powder. Why not? It's just like reef roid. They're very fine powder food that your coral be able to uptake. So if you have, if you find you have yeast in your refrigerator, and then your wife, your mom is not angry at you by using that, feel free.
Go for it.
Go for it. Seriously, it's not harmful. Yeah, you probably your coral has some gourmet food, gourmet.
You got some lucky corals. So
that same thing happened to. Actually, that bring up to the good memory. The guy who does yeast also does this thing into his tank.
Banana.
Yeah.
Potassium.
Exactly. That's what he said. But I don't think the potassium in banana is readily available for coral. But his yellow tank, hippo tank, love the banana.
Really?
Oh yeah, love it.
Just dose potassium chloride. That's a lot easier.
Yeah,
KCl.
Potassium chloride is very simple and easy.
Yeah.
For matter of fact, potassium chloride, potassium actually is quite important. The 400 ppm and or above, and sometimes people can keep it up to like 600 to 800 ppm. So what's the difference about what potassium can do? Actually, it's very obvious. So I have this coral. It's a PC rainbow. When the potassium level is good, it has bright blue tips.
Hello.
When the potassium level, drops and the blue tip disappears.
Huh.
That's my live indicator of potassium.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah.
There you go. Your little potassium test kit right there.
The potassium test kit. So right now it has many bright blue tips. So I know my potassium is fine. Otherwise, I'm just.
And if your potassium, if you don't have the bright blue tips, are you dosing KCl?
Yeah, KCl.
Yeah.
So I actually guess somebody asked me about this. Is that the potassium chloride coral dip versus adding potassium chloride to the tank? My explanation is all about concentration. So when you're doing the potassium chloride dip, the concentration is very strong.
You're talking about for pests.
The potassium chloride for dipping coral for
pests.
Worms.
Yep.
Yeah, that's very strong potassium chloride solution. When you add to the tank, it's 400 ppm, which is very dilute. So that is what's the difference. That's why you can use potassium chloride to boost your coral's health, and also use concentrated potassium chloride. Well, I think it works. I try it. So just like you said, using potassium chloride, saturated potassium chloride, it does work on the coral. But the coral take a lot longer to recover than I'm using Bayer. So that's why I still use the Bayer.
Yep, gotcha.
But it works. And also theoretically, it works too. The reason for that is that on worm, the surface of flatworm, there's a potassium receptor. When those the lot of potassium exposed to when the worm exposed to a high concentration of potassium, it basically it mess up its nerve system. So then you will have a spasm. You have a seizure. So they release it from the coral, fall off in the solution, and then all the water being sucked out of that poor worm.
I find it to be a very effective dip. Why, Dong? Why you're a very smart man? Why can't we solve the problem of killing the eggs for the aqua-eating flatworms? Why has this been such an issue for so long?
Because that the eggs are very well protected.
Protected shell. Yeah.
But there is one way to do it, is that the eggs always lay on the face of the acro. Always.
Yeah, so you got to cut the acros.
Oh no, you don't have to cut it. Sometimes cutting it is not realistic.
Or gluing it.
Especially super glue gel.
Yeah.
Yep. Or epoxy.
Yeah.
You just screw them over.
Yeah. Hold on, Dong. You got to work on a solution there, an in-tank solution there for getting rid of those eggs.
It's tough. It's tough. I think, but there is another interesting thing that I learned from from several coral farms is put in sacrificial coral in your tank.
Yeah, like tricolors.
Yeah,
they love
those purple
tricolors.
thing.
E-flows, F-flows.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So that, but overall is that I still doing my routine dipping. So that's why all these coral just sit there. They're on a spike, sitting
So
on
you just pull them
there.
out
I can
and dip
pick them
them.
out. Yep, I dip them regardlessly, just rotating.
Yeah.
Just one tank after another. Some people call me crazy, but
They can handle it.
my craziness have this.
Yeah.
So yeah, then it works.
Yeah.
And also that that's why I choose Bayer instead of the potassium chloride, because the Bayer dip, the coral doesn't even need to recover. So after Bayer dip, I put them back in the tank. The polyp fly out. Done. It just nothing happened to them. So, and especially that they just get a very nice bath. The white, those white formulation in Bayer is soap. They basically wipe off some of the bacterial layer on them so that they get clean.
But you got to be careful with that stuff. It's not good if you kind of get exposed to it, get on your hands.
Yes,
you got to be careful.
That's very true.
Yeah.
You wear gloves.
Gloves, and even a mask is probably a good idea.
Mask probably is not necessary because they're not volatile.
Oh.
But there is something I want to show you.
Oh. What do we got?
A plastic faucet.
Oh, what's that gonna?
Yeah.
What's that for? Just to.
For dipping coral, you instead of dipping your hand in there.
Oh yeah.
And it's plastic, and because what I found out is that my standard steel surgical one, even the surgical steel, they still rust.
Yeah.
And also
it'd be a little
that
rougher on the corals.
Yeah, rough on the coral, but the plastic is a lot better.
Yeah. No.
So I forgot who gave me this. I should thank him. Yeah, totally forgot. Somebody gave me this.
Yeah, that's a great idea. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a plastic one. So that actually reduces a lot of risk when you're using bears.
Yeah.
Yeah, of course. That for people who live in California, you cannot use it.
I can't. I don't think I can get it. I don't think I can get it. I have the the KCL works for me, but it's everybody has their kind of favorite in terms of what works and what doesn't work. Yep. and all that stuff. So it's good to have different options out there. Dong, any final words before we wrap it up? Anything you want to say? We've talked a lot about a lot of different things tonight.
Yep. I think that the basic parameter, the basic husbandry is 99% of any hobbyist. So a lot of this fancy stuff, dosing and fancy equipment give you that extra 5% of boost. So what I see over and over is that people are going after the 5% and losing the 95%.
Yeah.
So if you follow the very basic formula, do your 10% water change. Don't dose anything other than the calcium, alkalinity, and look at your magnesium. Test very often. Do your water change and buy a good lighting. Very important. Forget about Amazon, eBay, and AliExpress or Temu. Oh my God, that is a
what? Which one?
Temu.
I don't even know that.
Oh, really? That's a new shopping trend.
No.
You can find all this our cheapo stuff, garbage, with dirt cheap. So support the U.S. manufacturer for LED, P5, or even the old company like ATI. Seriously,
yeah,
you've got what you pay for. Basically, just like that.
Yep.
So get a good lighting, good pump, and do your water change. Keep your bare minimum basic stuff. You will have a successful tank.
Yes.
At much less risk. By if you push the envelope, you will get pushed back.
There's a lot of things out there that can potentially make things a lot more complicated than they really can be.
Yes.
And so that's always you got to kind of keep your eye on the ball there in that sense. And simple is better in this hobby.
Yep. Simple is the best.
Yeah.
Especially that one important thing is you can do all this fancy stuff, but think about it. Do you have the energy to always doing the fancy stuff? If you're dosing 10 bottles of little liquid using a dropper every day, ask yourself this question: can you always keep it up? The question probably is not.
Yeah.
So
well, that's what they make automatic dosers for, you know.
Yeah. But then the thing is that you get a lot more failure rate.
Yeah, that's
so
right.
one more piece of equipment, there's a one chance.
The more variables in play, better the chance.
So, but do test often.
Yeah.
But actually, I'm all for automatic testing. Seriously, it's not feasible for me because I have 3 separate systems. That means that $1,000 equipment for you is $3,000 for me.
Right, then you got to maintain it all and all that sort of thing,
exactly.
and replacement parts and things like that. Yeah.
Do test often, but do your water change, do your simple way. Find a way that is simple. Find a way that you can continue doing that. Even you have a big argument with your wife, you get kicked out of the house, okay? But you still can maintain.
Right. The point is that you don't want to make it so complicated that it becomes drudgery, where then you get frustrated, then you drop out of the hobby.
Exactly. And actually, a lot of things, the equipment manufacturer, in order to get the economy going, people are trying very hard to sell you new stuff. If you can accommodate the new stuff, you can financially afford the new stuff. Nothing wrong with that. But think about it and do it the lazy way. The laziest way you can maintain doing the same chore. And spend more time looking at your tank, enjoying your coral, instead of chasing after technology. For a matter of fact, if you look back 15 years, the reefing technology, actually everything go down to the basic. It's just a slightly different packaging.
Yep.
Do the basic. It's something that you can maintain. You can keep doing. Even you get thrown out to the garage and you have to slip in your car, but you still can come back and do the same simple thing. That is the right way of reefing. And always remember, this is a hobby, something that you got to enjoy doing. That enjoying doing, that means that less chores that you have to do, and financially not a burden.
Yeah.
If your significant other look at a receipt you accidentally left on the dinner table, and then you're in trouble. Throw out into an argument, you're in trouble. That is not worth it. And also, you can maintain a beautiful reef tank with minimum effort and minimum cost. Just don't follow the trend too much.
Yeah.
Stay with the basics.
Good words to end by. Hey, Chris from ACI, you finally made it in the stream there, Chris. You're a little late, dude. We're going to have Chris on in a couple of weeks. So, Dong, all right. So, for those of you that are in the Northeast, you got to check out Dong's place. He's in the Boston area, so you should definitely check it out. You won't be disappointed. You can connect with Dong on the Boston Reefers Society website. You can get a hold of him there, and he's also a sponsor of the club, as am I. So, you can check him out on the sponsors forum. Just go to bostonreefers.org, and that's how you connect with Dong. But you also ship as well, though you're reluctant to ship. I know that.
Yeah, actually, I can ship.
You can ship.
But most of my coral is just local.
Yeah.
I would prefer local. So if you are living in New York, Vermont, and if you're willing to drive over here, I give you a bigger discount to make up for your travel. Seriously, because that shipping always put more stress on the coral.
Let me tell you, folks. It's worth the trip to Dong's. I've made several 3+ hour trips to go visit Dong, so it's definitely worth your while. Like I said, so for sure. Anyway, Dong, thanks again, man, for being on. I see there's a whole bunch of people in the chat that just loved hearing your thoughts. So look forward to having you back on. And also want to thank
looking forward to that.
Also want to thank both Bulk Reef Supply and Ecotech Marine for sponsoring the live stream, and thank all of you folks out there for tuning in. Also a big thank you to Paul, who is the moderator as well as the president of the Boston Reefers Society. please join and support your local reefing clubs. They are so important to this hobby. I also want to let you know that all episodes of Rappin With ReefBum are available as podcasts on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, and Amazon. My next live stream is actually going to be in a couple of days. Thursday, I'm having a live coral sale right here on YouTube, so some pretty cool choice frags up for grabs, including a couple of Tyree Purple Monster frags. So that'll be in the live sale. And my next Rappin With ReefBum live stream will be next Tuesday, December 12th at 7 p.m. And I'm going to have both Sanjay and Mike Paletta back on the show. So that should be a very interesting conversation. And again, Meckley is going to be on in 2 weeks. If you want to check out the full upcoming schedule of guests, please visit reefbum.com under the YouTube section. Until next time, be safe and be well. Later.